next lesson. In the previous one, we dealt with common and proper nouns. Today, we are going to continue with countable and uncountable nouns. We've heard of these terms several times. What really are they like? Then let's look at this. As we move on here, what do you see in this picture? What is happening? So you are to answer certain. So what do you see in the picture on your left? What is falling in the picture? In the picture, what is falling? How many of them are on the ground? Then, I'm sure you being a brilliant person, your answers to each of the questions are similar to mine. We say that sugar. Then sugar. Too many to count. How many of them are on the ground? See, too many to count. So, what then are common and proper now? Count and uncountable. Now, let's look at this picture again. What is in the grass? How many are in the grass? I'm sure your answer to each question was like this. It's similar to my water. Water is in the grass and too many to count or cannot be counted. Let's move on and see. What about this? What is in the picture? How many are they? How did you know the quantity? I believe your answers are like this. I'm sure you said pens. 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 Then you said 15. Then number 3, you said through counting. You counted them. Very good. You are a brilliant learner. So we then say that things that we think of as separate individual items are being counted in everyday life. So like pens, we do count them in our everyday life. Human beings, we do count them in our everyday lives. Human beings and buildings and all that. Those things form what we call countable now, meaning we can count them. When there are even 1 million, even when there are 1,000 human beings, 1 billion human beings, we can still count them. We can still count them. We can still count them. So human beings are count nouns. So when you talk about the uncountable nouns too, you could see that things that are considered as a mass, but not single individual. Look at sugar. Those things that we call non-count nouns or uncountable nouns. In fact, it's never ever convenient to count them. And even something like water. How are you going to count water? You understand? We cannot count water. You cannot count water. So liquids, those styles are non-count nouns. This group of nouns that we know as count or non-count nouns, we do also call them mass nouns. In fact, the phrase mass nouns is not commonly heard. It's not commonly heard in everyday conversation. So generally, when we are looking at the characteristics of uncountable nouns, we could see that they are too numerous or large in number to be counted. Then, names of liquids, grains, languages, and all that are called, they all fall under what we call non-count nouns. Because you cannot say Englishes and all that, Frenches. you can't say those things. Meaning you cannot count it. English is English, French is French, right? When we come back to the count nouns, we've said that this class of a noun called count or uncount noun because we can count them. When we continue the lesson, we could see a lot of distinctions and the sort of words that fall under each group of that those subclasses of nouns that we are talking about. So we said that you could see pen, tooth, table, and all that. All these items are count. We can count them. But when we look at the uncountable nouns, something like bread, you cannot count bread. It is a mass. We can only say 2 loaves of bread. When we get to the partitives, you get to know about this. When, for instance, we want to quantify such things, we can say loaves of bread, pieces of bread, slice of bread, a bar of gold, or a gold bar, two bars of gold. Good. So paper, sorry. Then tea, beer are all non-count now. So we can only see 2 pieces of paper. 2 pieces of paper. A cup of tea. You might say that we've never heard of papers. There are papers on the table. We shall go into that when it gets to partitives. You'll get the concept very well. Paper is just a mass stuff. Ice, sand, and all those things are non-count nouns. As we are getting into conclusion, we say that nouns that refer to a group of similar items are also considered as a non-count noun. And then weapon, things that we use for war and all those stuff. Traffic is a singular. Seemingly. We can have money, machine, postage, furniture, food are all non-count nouns. We keep on saying that when you get a copy of English grammar made simple for perfect communication, you get a breakdown details of this stuff so that your English communication will always be better. So fruit, equipment, baggage, ammunition, software are all non-count nouns. Some nouns can be either countable or uncountable. Let's look at something like this. The cup is made of grass. Grass here is a substance that we are talking about. It's non-count. We are just talking about the material. So it is non-count. Then let's look at, they poured the wine into grasses. Here, grasses means containers. Container. Grass here means container. Then the foreign chickens are here. Count. Okay, let's look at this. We prefer chicken for dinner today. Non-count. We are talking about the substance that we eat. Chicken. We thank you very much for joining us today too. As we've learned about all these stuff, our next lesson is going to be on concrete and abstract nouns. Thank you very much for joining us. See you again next time. Bye-bye.